Hey, Haas, how did Hawkeye go deaf?
Pardon?
I said, how did Hawkeye go deaf?
I'm sorry, one more, just a little louder.
I said, how did Hawkeye go deaf?
You know what? Sorry, I can't hear you. Anyway, I've got something to do. Hey, folks, how's it going? Did you know Hawkeye was deaf? Welcome back, everybody. Thanks for stopping by. So, Hawkeye is now on Disney Plus. How'd you like the first episode? I'm pretty sure I enjoyed it. Don't know. I'm recording this before time. So obviously you've seen Hawkeye on Disney Plus, and you have subscribed to Hossman17. Thanks. We all know why we're here. How did Hawkeye go deaf? Well, that story starts all the way back in 1979 in Avengers number 181. So they had about 25 Avengers on the team at the time, and Henry Gyrich was the liaison to the US government and was like, no, that's too many Avengers. People are coming and going, and this is not acceptable. This is a government-run facility. Like, we need some IDs here. We need some hours. We need some liability here. So get rid of most of these Avengers. We're paring it down to 7, which I think is a great number for the Avengers, by the way. Like, just 7. Justice League, 7. You got a team, 7 core members. That's neither here nor there. Henry Gyrich says, this is the team, and I can't remember who all was on it. It was Scarlet Witch, Vision, Captain America, Wasp, Beast, and not Hawkeye. Yeah, they wanted the Falcon who had never been Avenger before. And Hawkeye was like, I'm pissed off. Wonder Man was like, yeah, it's cool, I'm gonna go try acting. Yellow Jacket was like, yeah, this is great, I can put more effort into my science. But Hawkeye was like, what? Damn it, man, I'm an Avenger. This is absolute bogus hogwash. This is hogwash. So everybody else took it really well. Hawkeye did not. And Henry Gyrich was like, too bad, get off the team. We need to make room for diversity. Because that's where they were at. They were like, this is a government team. We need to have a certain number of diversity hires, basically, is what he said. The Falcon was being hired because he was black. And Captain America was like, we have 2 mutants on the team. That's diversity. We have an android. Heck, we've even got some women. Captain America did not say that about the women, but he probably believed it. Old-fashioned guy. He's like, we have mutants, and Beast was like, Cap, dude, come on. Hawkeye was out of the Avengers, although he stayed on with the team for quite some time after that. Just a few issues, few adventures. And then when we got to issue 189, he's like, well, crap. I am off the team. I am not getting money, because Avengers were paid at the time. And he's like, I have to find a job. And he looked, and he found that Cross Technological Enterprises, or CTE, basically a competitor for Stark. Actually, if you saw Ant-Man, Pym became Cross. So it's that Cross from the MCU. That Cross was in the comics. And they were looking for a head of security. And Hawkeye was like, I know how to show them that I could be their head of security. So he broke in and was like, check it out. If I can break in, people can break in. Hire me. Make me your head of security. And they actually did. And this kind of became an important part of Hawkeye's character for like the next 4 years. Throughout his adventures in the Avengers, they were quite regularly going over to Cross, and he was being the head of security there. So much so they set him up in a really nice apartment, and he had a lot of money, obviously, from it. Like, he was a well-paying job. He was respected. He was the head of security, and it was a big deal. Yeah, he had a team. He was training his team under him. They all respected him. One of them was actually like a tinkerer type guy, and he built him the Sky Cycle. And like, even with a broken leg, Hawkeye was taking care of business at CTE. So let's cut to the fall of 1983, where Mark Gruenwald is writing a Hawkeye solo series, 4 issues, with art by Brett Breeding. It's actually a great little set of issues. It opens up and Hawkeye is on top of the world. Like I say, he's got a great job. He's got an amazing apartment. He's got himself a right pretty little Sheila. It's a girlfriend. Her name is Sheila. So there's that. And things are going good. And then there's a break-in one night. He's hanging out with his girlfriend. He gets a call about a break-in at Cross Tech, and he's like, the guys can take care of it. He's like, you know what? I'm just going to slip out. I'm going to take care of this real quick. So he goes out and he captures it. It's actually a Mockingbird. And she's like, don't, like, I'm not just here to break in. Like, I'm here doing stuff. I'm an ex-S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. There's shifty stuff happening. And he's like, whatever. Guys, just keep her in holding. When I come back in the morning, I'll take care of this. Then he goes back home to make time with his girl. And then he's like thinking about it. He's like, wow, something actually seems off there. So he actually goes back. He's like, I gotta look into this just a little bit. And then all of a sudden, all his guards turn on him. They're like, ooh, boss, we wish you didn't come back. Like, you shouldn't be looking into this. And they take him down and they throw him into a hole with Mockingbird. And then Sheila comes up and she's like, man, why'd you do that? You couldn't just leave it alone? So listen, I'm breaking up with you because, I mean, you're gonna die. And he's like, whoa, what's going on? And she was like, dude, I was paid to date you. You suck. And he was like, and he actually took it really hard. The Sheila character actually only debuted like a couple of months earlier in the Avengers, and that never established they were dating. So this issue is the first time we see they're dating. They couldn't have been dating for that long. He takes it so hard to the fact that he just sits down while they start dumping toxic waste on him, and Mockingbird's like, help me get out of here. And he's like, no, just gonna sit here and die. And it's like, I get it, Hawkeye, I've been there, but I mean, Jesus, come on, man, get your shit together. And he does get his shit together, and he takes out a little bow thing from his boot and throws it up and catches his sky cycle. His clothes are just tattered, they're falling off. And he gets on his sky cycle, and him and Mockingbird fly away, and he drops Mockingbird off, and he's like, I gotta go take care of something. And he crashes his sky cycle through Sheila's office and was like, oh, I'm so choked. Just give me back my bow and arrow. And he does. He takes his bows and he goes away. That's the end of issue 1. Issue 2 picks up and Hawkeye is down like in the sewer, not quite the sewers, but he's in like on this train tracks in a bad part of town, and he has been awake for 42 hours and he's just shooting his bow and arrows at a target, slowly breaking all of his arrows one by one until he just collapses. He's so sad and tired that he just passes out, and 5 goons show up and they're like, oh, we're gonna beat the crap out of this guy, he's a superhero, let's take out a knife and stick him with it. And then one of them even picks up his bow and is like, tries to pull it back, and he's like, wow, that's really tough. And that's earlier when Hawkeye was training his guys, one of them was like, hey, let me try your bow, and he's like, ugh. And Hawkeye's like, it's a 250-pound test pull bow, I don't understand bow and arrows, so I think that's a lot. I think 40 might be normal. I do not know. Never fired a bow in my life, believe it or not.
Believe it.
But this guy can't do it. And Hawkeye comes to while they're kicking the crap out of him, and he takes them out because he's Hawkeye. And he's like, okay, I guess I should go get some sleep. And he goes back to his apartment, which Cross was paying for, and it is empty. And he's like, well, that didn't take them very long to clear this place out. That sucks. And Mockingbird is waiting there for him. And she's like, hey, Hawkeye, like, I'm so sorry for my part in this. And Hawkeye is like, if you never came along, my girlfriend wouldn't have left me. And it's like, I get it. I get you're sad. But like the girl you've been dating for a week was paid to date you to keep you from looking into stuff. So I mean, which is more important, a fake relationship or being a superhero? Anyway, him and Mockingbird go. And she's like, I will buy you breakfast. He's like, please, you should. You owe me breakfast. You cost me my love. And she's like, Jesus, you know what, never mind. I don't want this breakfast. But she does. She takes him back to her place, and she's like, you know what, I will remake your costume, I guess. So he passes out, and he's having a good nap, and she goes out to get some material for his costume, and then the silencer comes in. And the silencer is this guy. I've never seen him before, but he's like firing a gun at Hawkeye, and there's no noise coming from it, and Hawkeye's like, wow, he's got some super quiet gun. But it's actually like, I guess the silencer creates a bubble of silence around him. Hawkeye barely makes out alive. Mockingbird comes back home and takes on the silencer. And then they give him his new costume, and ooh, look at these fancy new duds. It's fine. And they go and they're doing some more investigating. They break into Cross, because I guess they don't have head of security, so it's easy to break in now. They break into Cross, and they're looking for some information on stuff, and they probably find it. I cannot remember. The silencer shows back up, and him and Hawkeye fight, and it ends with silencer getting thrown down a smokestack, and then we never see him again in this. I'm sure we see him again. I'm going to look into it. That was his only appearance. Hawkeye killed him. So, ladies and gentlemen, the complete history of the silencer. Also, it looks like Mark Gruenwald did a lot of the art for this series, and I guess I was mistaken earlier. So Hawkeye and Mockingbird go on to issue 3, and they're kind of on the run. They're on the train, and they come across Steve Rogers, who is Captain America. And Captain America's like, hey, Hawkeye, I see you're in costume. I can help. And Hawkeye's like, no, that's okay, thank you. I got this handled. And he's thinking to himself, like in the inner monologue, he's like, man, if Captain America comes on, he will just take over and I will play second fiddle to Captain America, and I'm not doing that. So he's like, hey, no thanks, I got this. And Mockingbird, Bobby is like, damn, he good looking. And Clint's probably like, I don't like that. So they go off, and they're all of a sudden chased by the very first appearance of Oddball and Bombshell. Interesting characters. This was actually their first appearance. Oddball has balls. He throws balls, and he's got like balls that can melt stuff. He's got balls. I find him an interesting character, so you know what? Confirm it right here and right now. The complete history of Oddball coming someday. So there's some fights that take place, and Hawkeye gains the upper hand somewhat, but then not in the end. In the end, Oddball and Bombshell are successful over Hawkeye and Mockingbird, and they take them up to Technological Enterprises to meet the big boss. Who's behind all this? Who's been pulling all the strings? It's Crossfire. This is Crossfire's second appearance. Crossfire has a wonderful costume. So Crossfire just kind of hates superheroes. His other appearance was Marvel Team Up 52 with Moon Knight, which you'll hear more about in another video. And he was basically trying to use sound waves to alter people's minds to make superheroes fight each other. And that is also what he's doing here. He just wants to wipe out superheroes, and he's got these sound waves, and he puts Hawkeye and Mockingbird in a room and plays these sound waves that just raise their aggression, and they fight. They are beating the crap out of each other, and they are going to kill each other. He stops, and before he starts again, Hawkeye takes out an arrowhead that he had in a pouch, and it's one of his sonic arrowheads, and he actually hides that in his mouth, hoping to override the sound. And then when Crossfire starts playing the sound again, Hawkeye turns on his arrowhead with his tongue and blasts the sonic arrow inside of his mouth, and that destroys his hearing, as it would. He manages to beat the crap out of Mockingbird, but he knocks her out, and then he pretends to pass it himself. So they turn off the sound, and then he's dragged upstairs where he can confront Cross. Because Cross, like I said, Cross wanted to kill Hawkeye. And Cross was like, if I kill you, Hawkeye, the weakest Avenger, then there will be a funeral, and who knows who might show up. The Avengers will show up, Fantastic Four might show up, who knows who will show up to your funeral, and then I can blast my cool sounds all through your funeral because I arranged for it. I've prearranged everything, so they will come to my funeral home. Yes, he did that, and they'll come to his funeral home, and then he'll blast this, and then all these superheroes will just be helpless to fight each other.
It's actually like the church scene in The Kingsman.
He hopefully has a funeral of all these superheroes killing each other because he killed Hawkeye. That's his plan. And Hawkeye is like, guess what? I'm awake, and your plan sucks, even though I didn't hear what your plan was because I am deaf. Crossfire's like, well, screw you. And he picks up Hawkeye's bow, and he pulls it, and he's like, oh, I can't pull it back very far. And he shoots it, and the arrow just goes, flunk, and lands at his feet and explodes and takes him out. And I was just like, that is the greatest. That is the best supervillain confrontation ever. So basically, yeah, in this issue, where Hawkeye is crippled for life, like Hawkeye deafened himself, and then Crossfire, the bad guy, took himself out. And Hawkeye picks up his bow, is like, you couldn't even pull that back. I am weakest Avenger, my butt. I am so strong. And then we get a nice little ending. Cops are cleaning everything up, and Mockingbird is like, oh, Hawkeye, man, you are great. This was amazing, and like, I think I really like you, and maybe we could partner up and be partners and stuff. And Hawkeye's just like, yep, cool, yep, that's great. And he walks away, and he's like, man, I walked away from her. I don't know what she was saying, but I couldn't let her know I'm deaf because I can't show weakness. And it's like, oh my God, Hawkeye, you dumbass. And he's like, whatever, she probably wasn't saying anything important anyway. Cut to the next page, and they are married. Hawkeye and Mockingbird ran off, eloped, got married, and they're in a little heart-shaped hot tub. And Mockingbird is like, man, Hawkeye, you should be glad that I ran after you and made you listen to what I was saying, because I knew something was wrong, and I also made you get a hearing aid. So he's got cool hearing aids, and they go off and they start the West Coast Avengers together and live happily ever after, more or less. Not quite, actually. But yeah, Hawkeye was deaf. He had like hearing aids and stuff from Tony Stark made up, so it didn't affect him. But it was, depending on who was writing, it was a part of his story after that, until Heroes Reborn, when he walked into the energy of Onslaught with everybody else and died, but was actually completely molecular restructured on a different planet by Franklin Richards, and then that apparently cured his hearing, so he was fine. Until his own run by Fraction and Ajab, which you're going to see a bunch of other videos about this week, but that's why I'm doing something different, because I'm a host. Anyway, in that one, a clown-faced man actually stabbed him right in the ear with an arrow and punctured his eardrum. I'm cringing thinking about it. So he's deaf again. So what did you guys think of Hawkeye on Disney Plus? How was the first episode? Let me know in the comments below after you hit like and subscribe. That is not where the buttons will be, because I'm not that good. Anyway, check out more of my videos. Hawkeye.